Hi everyone, thanks for coming along during your lunchtime. Really appreciate it. It's lovely to see you, and we hope that you get something good from this volunteer talk. I think most of you know we're speaking about volunteering and careers on this event. There's a few of us from some Dublin-based colleges here. We're very happy to welcome Elaine Daly from DCU Careers, who will be speaking about careers, funnily enough. But for the moment, I'm going to ask my colleagues to introduce themselves. So Ruth Lynham, can we start with you?
Indeed. So my name is Ruth Lynham. I am the DCU Student Volunteer Coordinator. I'm actually joined here today by some of my colleagues who are working in DCU, including from the Students' Union, Kate Goodman. Kate might give you a little wave there. So I work as part of DCU Volunteer and the Office of Civic Engagement, and basically my whole role is working with students who are interested in volunteering, whether that's on campus or off campus. And hopefully today is worthwhile for everyone and you get something out of the session.
Thank you, Ruth. Niamh, would you like to introduce yourself there?
Yeah, thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Niamh, and along with my colleague here today, Teresa O'Leary, we both work together as part of the UCD in the community team. UCD in the community is UCD's engagement initiative, which it aims to connect staff and students with the wider community for mutual benefit. So a lot of our work involves working with staff across the campus and connecting them with community organisations which have projects that can have some benefit for both sides. As well as that, then we also celebrate and recognise all the amazing student activity that goes on through our UCD in the Community Volunteering Awards. This year was our first year to hold this, and that happened just at the beginning of November. And if you are interested in applying again for next year's awards, you can get involved through the link that was in the chat. We also have UCD Careers, and if anybody is interested in getting in touch, I'll just pop the link in the chat now. And again, then if anyone here is from UCD and they want to get in touch with us or find out a bit more about UCD in the community, you can email us at ucdic@ucd.ie. Thanks.
Thanks, Niamh. I'm going to ask Claire to have an introduction there.
Hi, thanks, Simone. So I'm Claire Flannery. I'm the Student Volunteering Coordinator at TU Dublin, and I work with students who are doing on-campus volunteering. So they could be you could be on a society committee, club committee, peer mentoring, class rep, or if you volunteer externally, and you can find great external volunteering opportunities on our website, studentvolunteer.ie/TU Dublin. So make sure that you're supported, that you receive training, that you're part of the community, and hopefully that your volunteering is a really positive experience for you. We also have awards, and we encourage everybody to log their hours. So I could see a couple of names to TU Dublin. I hope you guys are logging your hours as you go. And if you have 20, that's a bronze Pillar of the Community Award medal at the end of the year. 40 is silver and 60 is gold. And they do rack up quite easily. There's other award categories as well. It's a great celebration. So that will be in semester 3. Other than that, we have student-led projects as well, and a lot of our best volunteering projects have come from students' ideas. So if you ever want to chat to me, if you have the nugget of an idea, or if you've identified a problem and we can find a solution for volunteering, get in touch with me as well. So I'll put the links for our careers department in the chat box, and for volunteering as well at TU Dublin. And yeah, hope you enjoy the session. Thanks, Simone.
Thanks, Claire. I am Simone Cameron-Cohen. I am the Civic Engagement Officer for Trinity College Dublin. I look after your volunteering needs. Like several of us here, we have access to the Student Volunteer.ie platform, and log on with Trinity. It's studentvolunteer.ie/Trinity. And that's where you can take a look at volunteering opportunities and log your hours. I would encourage you to log your hours, because we also have volunteering awards that will be launched early next term. They're the Dean of Students Awards for volunteering. There are 3 categories, and I would encourage you to take a look at them and fill out an application. It involves reflecting, which I will be speaking to later on in this seminar. So it's a good thing to do to get into practice of doing. So I encourage you all to do that. There's lots and lots of societies on campus that do volunteering. There's also lots of volunteering around Dublin city centre. And as several of us are probably still at home, you can also volunteer virtually or within your own community. Perhaps you do some GA volunteering at home when you go home for the weekend, something like that. That all counts. That's all stuff that you can use towards volunteering. In addition to having lovely Elaine Daly, we are lucky to have alumna from two of the universities here. We have Aoife Murphy, who is an alumna from DCU, and we have Rachel Skelly, who is alumna from Trinity College Dublin. So we are looking forward to hearing our three speakers, and I'm going to ask that Elaine, would you like to kick off and talk to us a bit about careers? Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I think Ruth is sharing my slides there for me. So it's great to be here today, and thanks for having me. Great, thank you. So yeah, lovely to be here. So I'm going to cover a few different things today. If you just go on to the next slide there, please. So I'm going to look a little bit at the benefits of volunteering for your career, and the different ways it can, I suppose, play a part in you know, your job search and maybe you kind of progressing through your career, or maybe from a graduate into your first role after you finish college. I'm going to talk a little bit about how volunteering can benefit your CV, and also how you can incorporate it into your LinkedIn profile. And then also a little bit about what employers are looking for, just to break that down a little bit, and to give you some insight into how you can incorporate information from your voluntary experience into things like interviews as well. So if you go on to the next slide there. So in terms of the benefits of volunteering, I suppose, aside from the obvious, and aside from, you know, knowing the value that volunteers bring to the lives of people and organizations every day, there's lots of benefits as well in terms of your career, I suppose, and kind of building on your career development, and things like developing your skills and strengths and competencies. This is a key benefit, I suppose, of gaining volunteering experience. So it gives you a real opportunity to develop skills, build on existing skills, and also even explore your skills and strengths. So to actually identify what you're good at and what skills you have that you like using, which could be a useful tool in actually identifying, you know, what you might be good at in terms of a career in the future. It can be a really good way as well of conducting careers research. So for example, if you have a particular interest in a certain area, or a certain line of work, pursuing volunteering can give you a great insight into that line of work, and again, maybe kind of let you to see, you know, do I have the skills for this type of work? Am I really interested in this? Do I like what the day-to-day would look like in this area? So it can really help with your career decision making as well in that way. And I suppose when we look at this in the context of, you know, things like employers and when you're job searching and things like that, anyone who volunteers, I suppose it shows really good initiative that you actually took it upon yourself, maybe in addition to, you know, your college work, your part-time job, or other commitments that you might have, that you actually have, you know, taken the time to build volunteering into your routine. So it says a lot about you as a person. And I suppose as well, on top of that, then it shows that you're engaged, that you're playing an active role, whether it be in your local community, in your college, in society, that you're really kind of contributing in a positive way, and that you're engaged, and as I say, you're active. It can give you an opportunity then as well to apply learnings. So for example, if you're developing skills or you're gaining knowledge in your degree, it can give you an opportunity to actually apply those learnings in a practical context. So you can actually, you know, try things out and use those skills in your volunteering. I'll talk about the CV in a little bit more detail, but it's absolutely something that can help you build your CV and help you develop your CV during your time in college, so that by the time you get to the end of your degree or the end of your studies, and maybe you're looking at job opportunities, that you'll have a strong CV and you might have more to offer because of the volunteering that you've done. And as well, I think an invaluable thing and something that we often take for granted is the benefit in terms of how it can build your network and build your connections. And you never know how valuable that's going to be. And especially when it comes to things like job searching, to a certain extent, it can still be a case of, you know, job searching through your network, letting people know what you're looking for and things like that. So building your connections, just even making friends. But, you know, looking at it from the career perspective, it can be really, really valuable to have those connections and build up your network within different organizations, because you never know when that might be useful in the future. So moving on to the next thing then, looking at volunteering and your CV. So I suppose we look at this when I'm working with students on a one-to-one, and maybe I'm working with them on their CV. We're looking at everything that they have, whether that be, you know, their degree, other qualifications, work experience, hobbies and interests, achievements, volunteering. We look at volunteering in two different ways. So for example, if you have done ad hoc volunteering, so maybe you've done some bag packing, or maybe you've done some short-term fundraising activities, this could be something you can incorporate in under the hobbies and interests or hobbies and achievements section on your CV. And then if you've done maybe more longer term volunteering, so for a couple of months or a couple of years, whatever it might be, you can actually include that in a section on its own on your CV. And I've put in an example here of just how I would suggest to lay it out, but obviously there's different ways of doing things. So I would say, you know, put in bullet points, the same as you would with other work experience that you might have. You can lay your voluntary experience out the same way. Think about the skills that you're developing, use bullet points to highlight those skills, keep it action focused, and this can absolutely add as much value as any other work experience that you might have. And you can see here it can be reflected in the same way, but obviously just highlighted that it is voluntary work, because that will absolutely add value to your CV as well. So moving on to your LinkedIn profile then. So again, another benefit of doing volunteering is that it can be useful to help build up your LinkedIn profile. And again, it's absolutely something that employers would like to see or you know, would, I suppose, admire on a LinkedIn profile. So what I would say is if you are on LinkedIn or if you are setting up your profile, there is an option for you to add your voluntary experience to that. And again, the prompts will all be there in LinkedIn, but it can be a really good way of, I suppose, inputting more skills and competencies and knowledge into your LinkedIn profile. So for example, if you've developed certain skills from your voluntary experience, detail those in a similar way that you would on your CV. And I suppose the benefit of doing this on your LinkedIn is that it will populate your LinkedIn profile with more content and allow you to be more searchable. So what I mean by that is if recruiters are searching for candidates on LinkedIn, so we'll say a recruiter has a job vacancy in a company and they're looking to find candidates or source candidates through LinkedIn. They will do that by putting in certain keywords, things like skills, competencies, knowledge that they're looking for the role. They'll put those into a search on LinkedIn. And if you have those keywords or those skills in your LinkedIn profile, then you'll come up in those searches. So it doesn't just all have to be focused on your degree or your paid work experience. Absolutely, the voluntary experience can be useful there as well. So moving on then to employers and what they want when they're looking at applications. So when we break this down and pare it right back, employers are essentially looking for three things. So they're looking at a candidate to see, can this person do the job? Will this person do the job? So do they actually want it? And why should we hire them? So going back to, can this person do the job? They're looking to see if this person has the skills to do the job that they're looking for. And absolutely, you can incorporate your voluntary experience to show how you have the skills to do the job that you're applying for. So the fact that it's unpaid doesn't matter. If you have the skills, it doesn't really matter where they came from. will you do the job? So again, they're looking here for your motivation and your enthusiasm for the role that you're applying for. So again, voluntary experience can show that you're really engaged, that you have great initiative, and that you are in general a motivated person. And then in particular, if it's relevant voluntary work, this can absolutely, I suppose, provide evidence to the recruiter or the employer that you are motivated to get into that job or get into the industry that you're applying for. And then why you? If you've done voluntary experience, this could be the thing that would set you apart from other applicants. So when I'm working with students, I'm always looking at what is different or what makes them different to the person next to them that's applying for the same role. Especially if people, you know, have maybe the same degree. I'm saying, well, what will differentiate you from someone else with the same degree? It could be voluntary work, it could be other extracurricular activities, but voluntary work is definitely something that could be a unique selling point for you, and an interesting thing to bring into your applications. So moving on then, oh, I think the boxes are gone a little bit funny here. You can't, oh yeah, great. Phew. So yeah, look, these are just some of the things that employers are looking for. And I suppose the point that I want to make here is absolutely, we know that academics and work experience, things like internships, placements that you might do as part of your degree are absolutely so important in an application. But I suppose the point I want to make here is that employers are always looking for more, or they're looking for what else someone has to offer and what again might differentiate you from someone else. So between the skills that you get from volunteering and the volunteering that would just be down on your CV, whether that be the organisation that you've done it in or the skills that you've developed, it can absolutely, you know, make you stand out and show a lot to an employer, you know, in so many different ways, as I've highlighted here, but I'm not going to go into that in great detail. And just before we finish up, I think the last slide is again, just I suppose going to the employer side of things and talking about how you can bring your volunteering into interviews. So I'm always, when I'm working with students or graduates on interview preparation, we're always looking at examples to demonstrate the skills and competencies that they have. And we're always looking for that variety in the examples that they give. So for example, you don't want to be giving all your examples to demonstrate your skills based on one piece of experience. So for example, you might bring in certain examples from your degree or the college work that you've done. You might have other examples from your voluntary work, maybe others from a part-time job. And I suppose the voluntary experience will just allow you to, I suppose, vary those examples a little bit, and I suppose to show the breadth of the experience that you have. And one, I suppose, key thing, just for anyone who isn't aware of it already, when we're doing interview preparation, again, with job candidates, we use the STAR technique when preparing answers. So this could be a useful tool for you, and you can just even Google this afterwards. It's just an acronym, but it's basically a format for structuring answers to interview questions, in particular competency-based interview questions. So for example, if you're saying from your voluntary experience, you've developed excellent communication skills, you could use the STAR technique to think of a specific example or a specific situation in your voluntary work where you can demonstrate those or where you have demonstrated those communication skills. So that might just be a useful thing, but I suppose my main thing today is to encourage you to not take your voluntary experience for granted, and don't underestimate the value of it when you are building your CV and when you are job searching. So I'm going to stop talking there, and thank you very much. I'm happy to take any questions at the end.
Thank you so much, Elaine. That was really helpful. I thought that was fantastic, and I'm sure there'll be lots of questions at the end. Just to remind everybody, we are recording this, so later on we will be sharing it. If you want to look back on any of the information that we have here, you'll be able to find it in the recording. Now I'd like to invite Aoife Murphy from Enactus to speak a few words about how volunteering influenced her career.
Brilliant, thanks so much, Simone. That was really interesting to me as well, Elaine, just to know from my previous experience to add stuff, because it's always handy to know this kind of stuff. But yeah, my name is Aoife Murphy. I graduated from DCU in 2017, studied communication studies, which kind of doesn't really have a lot to do with my career right now, which is where volunteering really hugely had an impact on what I did when it came to my career. So when I started volunteering when I was in like secondary school, because I remember when I was in TY and I just always wanted to do something in my job that would like help people. And at the time I was like, the only way I can help people is to become a nurse or to become a teacher. And did work experience as a teacher, fell asleep, literally reading to a child. I was like, this is not for me. I can't do this. And then what else was I going to do? Oh yeah, nursing. I was like, yeah, maybe I could be a nurse, maybe. And then I cut my finger and faint. So I was like, maybe that's not the path for myself to take. So I didn't really think there was any other, I guess, ways of helping people in your career at the time. Even when I was in TY, like we had community care. So I volunteered for the Irish Deaf Society charity shop once a week. And then I also volunteered at an old folks home. So I would go once a week and just chat to everybody, you know, just do like different games and stuff, which was I really, really enjoyed, and I got a lot of value out of it as well. Which kind of then like really introduced me to the world of volunteering. Like it was a very simple thing, but I was like, geez, you can actually help people outside of being a nurse or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. So I did like the odd volunteering stuff then for like 5th and 6th year. Like I had a friend whose auntie ran different like fundraising things. So like, you know, those people shaking buckets for like Temple at Easter and stuff. Like I did a lot of that. And I just love like chatting to people and stuff. And then when I came into college, then I knew I really did want to volunteer. So I picked communication studies as my degree because I hadn't a clue, as most people don't, at 18 what I wanted to be. And I said, grand, that's a bit, you know, that's a bit wide. Had a bit of an interest in media, maybe TV presenting, because in TY I was in the show. Like, and I was like, maybe I could be a TV presenter. I actually don't know what I was thinking. Anyway, so when I came into college, I quickly realized that my course wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Very little hours, which I wasn't used to in school. And so I looked to societies really to fill my extra time. And I got involved in the Raising Giving Society. And I just started volunteering with Ruth, actually, visiting an elderly person once a week, which is really nice. It was called Adopt a Grandparent, loved it. And we just go to his house once a week for a cup of tea and a chat. And then I got like progressively more involved. Then in my second year of college, still with the Raising Giving Society, I was social project manager. So during that time, I set up 2 social projects. There's one like a dancing one with kids up in Ballymun. Can't dance for the life of me, but they didn't know any different because they were 5 years old. And that was really fun. And I just absolutely fell in love with it. Like hands down, if it wasn't for the Raising and Giving Society and the volunteering I did, I would have dropped out of college and I don't know what I would have done. I just found so much enjoyment in it. And then in final year, I became chairperson of the Raising and Giving Society and continue to be involved in all the social projects because I absolutely love it. You couldn't tear me away, to be honest. I spent a lot more time with the Raising and Giving Society than I probably did in a lot of my lectures. So that really solidified for me being like, I need to work in like the charity sector or the trade sector or something to do with that. At the time, I didn't realise what a social enterprise was because I never had done business a day in my life. I'd never heard of that term. And then after college for a while, I worked in events, but I was mainly applying for jobs in like charities. And then my current job with Enactus Ireland came up. A friend actually sent it to me and was like, look at this job. And it was funny enough because the job was like my current manager's job. But I was like, do you know what? I'll apply for it. The worst that can happen is I won't get it. So I applied for it anyway, severely underqualified. But like that, I got the interview because of my experience in college. And they actually interviewed me for that manager position, but they asked me a lot of different questions that I wasn't really prepared for. But I also could answer because of the things that I'd done when I was in college. And then they rang me a week later and they were like, listen, you know, we don't think you're a fit for the manager job. There's actually been a new job come up, a program officer that we think you would be perfect for. And basically that's my job now.
So I'm the Programme and Engagement Officer. So basically Enactus Ireland is, Enactus in general is a global network of students, academics and business people that come together to make the world a better place, essentially. So Enactus is a student development programme through the medium of social enterprise. So our students come up with project ideas and then they turn them into social enterprises. So basically like businesses that do social good. So my main job is basically to train these students and manage these students, help them develop their own ideas. So they could be, you know, anything from in Trinity, like where Simone mentored a few of the students. They had a project called Hope, which I absolutely loved, still is one of my favorite to this day, where they employed homeless people to become football coaches. So they had a football team in Trinity and they employed a homeless person to do that. And then they were also able to like educate, like do different training courses with that homeless person. So, you know, anything based on their needs. So my job is, yeah, to provide like training opportunities for these students to help them develop those social enterprises. And I also run the social media, which is a tiny bit to do with my degree, a little bit, which is kind of the only part of my whole career that revolves around that. But yeah, so I absolutely love my job. And Enactus is basically it's a student run organization. There is paid members like myself. I work for the head office, but like that, everybody else is voluntary. So any students here can get involved. We're in 10 students, or we're in 10 third level education institutions across Ireland. So we're in DCU, TU Dublin, UCD, Trinity. So I think Ruth is going to pop the registration link in there, but it's really, really worth your while, guys, getting involved. In any form of volunteering. Obviously, I'm very biased towards Enactus. Funny enough, I actually wasn't an Enactus student when I was in college, but because I was like, oh, business isn't for me, I don't do business. But Enactus isn't just for business people, it's literally for anybody. So you could have your own idea, you want to help people, say you're like that, I'd love to do something with like elderly people and help them reduce isolation. You could set up a project like that where once a week students go and they visit elderly people. It can literally be anything. Or if you want to just volunteer in general, there's so many different projects across all of our campuses that do different projects that you can get involved in. So make sure to register, and I'll personally connect you with the team because that is my job. And come along and get involved, because once you are involved, there's a huge amount of benefits. I know Elaine mentioned a few there of volunteering, but specifically within Enactus, it's quite relatable across all the boards. But like, first of all, you're impacting people's lives. So it can be in the smallest way, but you leave an impact on someone else's life during your time in college, which I think is just incredible. Like looking back on your time in college, and not only did you get a degree, but you also improve people's lives. Like that is so important. Then also there's like training opportunities for yourself. So like there's so many students I see who join Enactus and they're really shy. They don't really get that involved, but by the end of it, they're up on a world stage in San Jose presenting their social enterprise, which is absolutely incredible. There's an opportunity to travel. So as I mentioned, San Jose there, we have different competitions. We have a national competition where all the 10 colleges come together and they compete so basically they do a presentation on the work that they've done this year with their social enterprises. And then the winner gets to represent Ireland on the world stage. So this will go against other Enactus countries across the world, which there's 37, and they've been in different places across the world. So DCU have won about a million times. They won like 6 times, I think. Trinity won there 2 years ago. Was delighted for them as well. You know, I know there's people from TU Dublin here. Maybe this could be your year. So yeah, they represent Ireland on a world stage. So those competitions have been in California, San Jose in California. You know, they've been in Beijing, they've been in Toronto, they've been in London. They've been in Washington in America. So really, really cool. Not only that, you get to meet really, really cool people. So you get to meet like academics, of course. So there's lecturers involved, there's different staff, college staff involved. So Simone here on the call is involved. There's different business people, we have different corporate partners. So, you know, if you're thinking about maybe a career as well, you know, you're doing accounting or whatever, we're partnered with KPMG, we're partnered with Citibank, all those things that you can get like internships and that kind of thing. But also you get mentorship from those business people. So you get to meet them, they get to train you in different ways. it's a huge CV builder. So, you know, you're creating your own social enterprise, you're essentially creating your own business, or you're helping to create your own business. You're doing different training programs. We offer certification as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things to do. And you get to meet different perspectives, and just, yeah, it's really good. It's really good. So the registration link, I think, there is in the group chat. That's kind of everything, my journey to become working in a charity now.
That was amazing, Aoife. Thank you so much. That was wonderful and enthusiastic. It was really enjoyable, and there was a clear line between your volunteering and where you are now and how you got there. Now I'm going to ask Rachel Skelly, who was a Trinity Legacy Award winner for her volunteering while she was in Trinity. I'm going to ask her to speak a little bit about her experience volunteering and how that's impacted her career. Take it away, Rachel. Thank you.
Fab, thank you so much, Simone. And thank you all for being here and giving up your lunchtime. I like, every time I come to these things, I'm like, this is amazing. Look at all these wonderful people giving up their time to have these conversations. So that's incredible. Please also bear with me. I have a little bit of a cold, but hopefully that won't be too disturbing for you. So my name is Rachel Skelly. My pronouns are she, her. And I graduated from Trinity back in 2019, and I studied geography, which has absolutely nothing to do with what I do now. So I work in sexual violence prevention in higher education. So I started in Trinity back in 2014. I'm a survivor of sexual violence. And when I was there, basically I was having a lot of conversations with my friends, my new friends, my peers about sexual violence. And I realized it was like a big problem, and that something needed to be done about it. And we needed to have more conversations in a wider space. So I got involved with the Students' Union and with the Student Counselling Service, and we set up the Trinity Consent Education Programme. So what we did was we developed workshops, and we delivered these workshops to students in Trinity Hall. And I kind of did that for the next couple of years, kind of set that up, wrote the programs, kept trying to build it, kept raising as much awareness as we could. And then in 2019, as Simone mentioned, I won the Dean's Legacy Award for volunteering, which was fantastic. And I then continued on, and I suppose to come back, I know someone mentioned earlier about reflection. And I think that's a really, really important piece when you're going through volunteering, is really reflect on where you are, reflect on where you want to be, and how do you get there. So one of the things we recognized was that I was about to graduate. I had been leading the program, and I was about to kind of walk away from Trinity. So thankfully, I worked with, again, the Students' Union, with the Senior Tutor's Office, and the Student Counselling Service, and we got funding for a one-year internship. So that meant I was able to go and work with the Student Counselling Service and to run it and get paid for it. And we were running the Consent Education Programme, which was amazing. Again, had to recognise this is only 1 year, and how do we keep this going? How do we keep moving? So when I was there, I got the opportunity to write a funding proposal to the Department of Education. And so that was for an online anonymous reporting tool for incidents of bullying, harassment, sexual harassment and sexual violence. We got the funding. Within that, I also wrote a job into the funding proposal, which I'd highly recommend if you have the opportunity to do so. And so that's how I kind of created the job that I'm in now. I also work in IADT, the other half of my time, and I run the implementation of the framework for consent out in IADT. But I suppose in terms of that reflection, in terms of that constantly things evolving and figuring out like, how do we make this better? One of the things we did with the reporting tool, and also I think the reporting tool has been launched in a couple of your colleges. It should be, so it's called Speak Out. Hopefully you'll have heard of it. I can see some heads nodding, which is fantastic. Yeah, so I wrote the funding proposal for Speak Out back in 2019, and it's now launched in, hopefully by Christmas, it'll be launched in 18 colleges. And so I've been running the rollout of that. It's been fantastic. I get to sit on national committees. I get to meet with, like, I'm going to be meeting with Simon Harris in kind of 2 weeks. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'm also like in the process now of working like with the people that I've met throughout this, and we're coming up with like, what's our next project? We've gotten to this point. How do we move it forward? How do we keep going? How do we keep building on this momentum? Where is the next space? You know, in terms of like with the, I suppose with Speak Out, it originally started as just bullying, harassment and sexual violence. We recognized and again reflected the intersectionality of sexual violence and of harassment. And we widened it out to look at, you know, hate crime, discrimination, stalking. It's about that constant recognition of where are we? What are we doing? Can we help more people? And I think that's the really important piece, and kind of thinking back to the points that Elaine was making, and, you know, looking at initiative and highlighting that initiative. It's not only that the volunteering shows future employers your initiative, it's an opportunity to develop utilizing your initiative and following those intuitions and kind of going, oh, actually, this is great. And you find those people who'll listen to you and you can have those conversations with. And then my experience has been, you can create the career path that you want through your volunteer work. And you can create a space where you can get really wonderful things done with really wonderful people. So I think that's about it for me. Yeah, if anyone has any questions on any of that, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate you sharing so much of yourself and your experience. I know that people will connect with that and see where volunteering can take them. I think, Ruth, am I right? Am I next on the agenda?
You are indeed, yes.
Okay, so Ruth's going to organise my slides for me. Thank you, Ruth. I'm going to speak to you a little bit. It ties in nicely from where Rachel was speaking. I'm going to speak a bit about reflection and why it is important. I'm going to be looking at sort of quickly at graduate attributes, reflection, how that might be used in awards, and resources. Can I have the next slide there, please? Thanks. Okay, so in Trinity, like probably most higher education institutions at this point, we have a set of graduate attributes. I think mostly they're pretty similar. It's about, you know, what we would like to see our students leaving the university with beyond the sort of skills and knowledge that they gain in their degrees. So in Trinity, they're to think independently, to communicate effectively, to develop continuously, and to act responsibly. And we were kind of thinking, well, how do we know how we do that? And one of the things that we decided to develop was a reflection tool. This is actually available online. It's not behind any sort of wall, so anybody can use it. It's quite useful. Yes, it is very oriented towards the Trinity graduate attributes, but you'll see yourself, there's plenty of prompting questions in there. So feel free to use it. Happy for you to download and use it. Can I have the next slide there, please, Ruth? Okay, so when a few of us have mentioned Volunteer.ie, which is a platform that we use for our students and with our volunteering involving organizations. It enables the volunteering involving organizations to advertise roles, and it enables you guys to set up a profile and to apply for roles, and also to record your hours. Then you can use that information to apply for a local volunteer award if your institution does that. Can I have the next one? And as part of that, many of the awards require a piece of reflection. And, you know, a lot of people are speaking to you now about reflection. So why reflect? And why is it important? Why did people keep talking to you about this? What is the point of it all? So if we could have the next slide there, Ruth, thanks. I was actually at a course this morning ahead of this on leadership, and there was a woman called Abby McKenna who was speaking to us, and she was talking about confidence and motivation and imposter syndrome. And one of the things she said was that, when you get recognition for something, that's a sort of an external marker of what's happened, but you build your confidence from within, and that needs to be developed. And she said to take energy from the things that you have done. But how do you know what you've done, right? So there's a way and there's a method and a structure we can put on this. Reflection. So looking at Bloom's taxonomy of reflection, there's a link there at the top, and there will be another one later in the slides for this. So there's a few steps. You remember, what did I do? What did I learn? Whether that is what have you done for the last 3 months in an overseas volunteering thing, or whether it's, what did I do in the panto rehearsal with that group of children? And then understand what's important about that. Why is that there? Why is that in your memory? What have you learned? Why is that learning important? And then to apply that learning, where can I use this again? What organizational thing did I do that was really useful? How did I speak to somebody that was kind and compassionate? Where can I use that again? To analyze it. Is there a pattern in that? How am I successful? What does my success look like? How can I make that better? How can I build on that? Can I link this to other things in my life, other learning in my life? And evaluate it. Did I do it well? What went well? What didn't go so well? What can I improve? And not to get stuck on the negative around that, and not to beat yourself up, but it's more like, okay, I recognize I do these things really, really well. How can I improve on those? And okay, this thing didn't work. Why? What can I change to make it work the next time? And that brings you on to create. What's next? What can we do for the next thing? And it becomes what I would call a virtuous circle. So when you begin to do that quite often, you get a virtuous spiral, and it begins to move out and move beyond. And if you do it regularly and practice regularly, it becomes more natural. Can I have the next slide, please there, Ruth? Thanks. So the types of volunteering and styles of reflection, there's lots of different ways to do that. Like I said, we have a tool online. That's great. You might do it once off, you might do it for regular volunteering, you might do it for long-term volunteering. It might be a weekly volunteer opportunity, it might be a summer opportunity. With the volunteering reflection, you can do it in a number of ways. You might feel more comfortable writing down those questions and prompts and following through on them. Maybe you'll feel a bit more comfortable recording of ways to access this kind of reflection. How do you know you've reflected well? Well, there's a number of ways of doing that. In Trinity, we do encourage students to send me their reflections for feedback. Absolutely happy to do that. But you can also do it within a group. I know that the Vincent de Paul in Trinity come together on a regular basis, and they do reflection, and they do peer reflection. So they speak to each other in large groups and small groups and reflect on their reflecting. I know that sounds all very meta at the moment, but I promise you it's a really good way of doing that. You can get feedback from your peers. Maybe you're in a peer mentoring program, and you can talk to your other peer mentors about how you're doing that and how your reflection is going. But also you can very easily look back at something like Bloom's taxonomy and sort of go, well, did I answer those questions, and did I answer them well, or are they getting easier for me to answer? Do I feel more comfortable answering those questions about myself and giving myself the time to do that? Because that's really important, to give yourself the time. It doesn't have to take very long. It can take 10 minutes, or you can give yourself quite a lot of time and do it over an hour. It's up to you. It really is up to you. But I would suggest little and often is the key, rather than doing lots and lots at the end of term. Can I have the next slide there, please? Thank you. So for some information, here are the resources. So we have the graduate attributes that are very specific to Trinity. We also have the taxonomy reflection, and also having a look at the careers site and how you can pull out from your reflection the skills and knowledge that you've learned and pop them into the CV like Elaine talked to you about earlier. I think that is the last of our speakers. Thank you all for your attention. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions for us now, if you'd like to type them into the chat, that would be helpful. But if you don't, that's okay too. Or if you want to email us separately after this, that's absolutely fine as well. I know everybody's open to that. I'm going to leave it for a few minutes and see what happens. While you're getting yourselves together and while you were thinking, I would like to thank all of our speakers. We really appreciate that you've given your lunch times over to us today. I'm delighted that so many students have gotten to hear your experience and knowledge. It has been absolutely great. This has been a really wonderful collaboration between all of our HEIs, and I'm delighted we were able to do it. I would like to see more of this happening. So I suppose lead by example, which is what we're doing. And I think it's a really good thing to do, to collaborate, share the work, but also share the knowledge and the enthusiasm. It's been great. So thank you all for your attention, everybody. And if there aren't any more questions or any questions for us immediately, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you.